85% of people all around the world have no clue about basic math. Luckily, I'm a part of the other 25%. Hi, my name is Jay Catalano, and today I want to get you to realize that you need to know mathematically what each vessel costs you to make. This one is very important. You ready to get started? Let's go. This concrete vessel took 5 elements to make, and each one of those items cost money to produce. Not knowing this number can cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. What costs do we need to figure out? Cement, pigment, water, sealant, and the mold we used in order to produce the shape of this vessel. We also have some other factors to consider, but we'll add that in at the end, and we'll make it a lot simpler. Let's break it down. Cementol. This box of cementol is 25 pounds. Now I work in grams for my metric unit, so I need to translate to grams first before we get started. I know that 1 pound equals 454 grams. There's 25 pounds in this box, so 25 times 454 is 11,350 grams. That means inside this box, there's 11,350 grams. Now I use 380 grams to produce this vessel. So from the 11,350 grams in here, we're gonna divide that by the 380 grams of this vessel. And that works out to be 29.868. We're gonna round that up just to make it a little bit easier. So we're gonna say 30. That means that I could produce 30 vessels from this box. But how much does it cost? Well, this box cost me $16.49. That's with tax, but I had to drive all the way to Home Depot and back, which is a little over 20 miles, and my car gets me about 20 miles per gallon, and gas is $5 a gallon now. So what does that mean? That means I'm gonna put $5 more onto that price. $16.49 plus 5 is $21.49. We're gonna take that number and divide that by the 30 vessels I can make from this box, which gives me a number of 0.716333. Now that number we're gonna round up to 72. And so that means that the cementol in this vessel cost me 72 cents to make. Let's move on. Wait a minute. If you think this video is inspirational, creative, educational, with a little bit of entertainment, consider hitting that like button. It would really help me out a lot. Thanks. Black pigment. This bag is a 1 pound bag of black pigment. And we know that 1 pound equals 454 grams. Being that I use 10 grams to add into my mixture to make this black vessel, I'm gonna take the 454 and divide that by 10. And that gives me a number of 45.4. Let's round that down to 45. That means that from this bag, I can produce color in 45 vessels. But how much does it cost? This bag cost me $12.13. That's with tax and shipping. Amazon is great for that. And I take that number and I divide it by the 45 pieces I can make, and that gives me a number of 0.26955. Let's round that up, 0.27. That means that the black pigment in this vessel cost me 27 cents. Let's move on. Water. Now water is a very tricky thing to determine because in my house I have 4 people that live here, and so I couldn't really determine who does what with the water. So I decided to use a gallon of water to determine my cost. Now I know that 1 gallon of water equals 3,785 grams. I use about 95 grams of water for my mixture to make this vessel, and so I'm gonna take the 3,785 and divide that by 95. That gives me a total of 39.842. Let's round that number up to 40. That means that from this gallon of water, I can produce 40 concrete vessels. But how much does it cost? Well, this gallon of water cost me $1. I'm gonna take that number and divide it by the 40 pieces I can make from it, and that gives me a total of 0.025. Let's round that number up to 3. That means that the water that I added for my mixture cost me 3 cents per vessel. Let's move on. Sealant. Like the black pigment, there's 1 pound of sealant in this container. We know that 1 pound equals 454 grams, So I know that I take about 10 grams to seal this vessel. So I'm going to take the 454 and divide that by 10, which gives me a number of 45.4. Let's round that number down to 45. That means that from this jar, I can seal 45 vessels. But how much does it cost? This one is a little bit more expensive. This container cost me $40.90. I'm going to take that number and divide it by the 45 pieces I can make from it. That gives me a number of 0.90888. Let's round that number up to 91. That means that I could seal this vessel for 91 cents. Let's move on. The silicone mold. Now the silicone mold is a little tricky because who can determine how many times I can actually demold a vessel successfully? Well, I reached out to them at Modern Craft Labs and they told me I could successfully demold, if I take care of it, about 500 vessels. Let's use that number for now. It could be a little less, and if you're very lucky, it could be a little bit more. But we're gonna use 500. This mold cost me $71.95. I'm gonna take that number and divide it by the 500 times I could demold a vessel successfully. That gives me a total of 0.1439. We'll round that down to 14, and that means every time I demold a vessel, it costs me 14 cents. Let's see where we're at so far. We have 5 numbers to add up. Cementol, 72 cents. Black pigment, 27 cents. Water, 3 cents. Sealant, 91 cents. And the mold, 14 cents. That gives us a total of $2.07. But there actually are a few more costs that we have to consider. Let me explain. This one's gonna be quick and simple, so stick around. We have 5 categories we need to think about. We have our creative supplies. We have our cleaning supplies. We have our rent or mortgage. We have utilities, and we have slippage. Let's start with slippage. What is slippage? Slippage are the mistakes, the errors, the water that fell on the floor, the cement that puffed into the air, the vessel that cracked when you demolded it, the extra mixture that you made and had to throw away. That's all slippage. And so that number we're gonna say is about 10%. So we know it costs $2.07 to make the vessel. We're gonna add in another 10% on top of that. 10% of 207 is 0.207, round that up to 21. We now have a vessel made for $2.28. But we have the other 4 categories we have to add in together. Let's do that real fast. The other 4 categories. Creative supplies, that's our mixing bowl, our spatula, our respirator, our scales, all of the supplies it took to make this vessel. Most likely you wouldn't have bought those supplies had you not been making vessels, so we need to add that into the cost. Now our cleaning supplies are the supplies we use to clean up afterwards. We have our paper towels, we have our sprays, we have our sponges, garbage bags, everything it took to clean up, we're gonna add that in as a category. Then we have rent and mortgage. That's the place that you actually made the mold. Maybe it's in your basement, it's in a studio. It doesn't matter. We're gonna add that in as a category. And the last one we're gonna add in is our utilities, the light and the electricity that it took to make this vessel. Now, it would be very daunting for you and for me if we sat around and we tried to really break down how much it costs for those 4 categories. So what we're gonna do is add 5 cents to each category and add that into the vessel. Being that we have 4 categories times the 5 cents per category, that gives us an extra 20 cents, which we're gonna add into the vessel. That means that this vessel in total cost me $2.48 to make. Now, I could have actually gotten my costs down cheaper. How could I have done that? 1, I could have actually bought larger supplies. The larger my supply, the less it costs me in the long run. I also could have waited for a holiday sale. Mother's Day, Christmas, New Year's, President's Day, all of these days are days that people like to put things on sale. I could have waited for that. Or my third thing I could have done was if I would have bought a lot of product in Home Depot or Lowe's, I could have gone to eBay and bought a coupon. That's right, I could have saved money with a coupon. Let me give you an example from those 3 things that I just listed. If I would have bought a 55-pound bag of cement instead of this 25-pound box, I could have saved myself 27 cents per vessel. That's a lot of money. And that's the math needed to make these concrete jars. Take a look at these videos that are popping up now. They're gonna help you make these awesome concrete vessels. Until next time, take care. Ciao.